Episode number 9. What's
With
going on, man?
not much. Glad to be here with you tonight. It's a beautiful evening.
Yeah. Yeah, me
Um,
too, man.
yeah,
I
so I guess
I'm
everybody
on
heard us talking backstage. Good thing we weren't talking bad about Jeremy or
Oh my
anything.
God. Could you imagine if we were saying
Imagine
what
if you
we
were like,
actually
"Oh,
thought about Jeremy?
that monsoon pied is ugly,
Dude, it looks like garbage. It's
horrible."
terrible. So bad. So bad. Yeah, I guess they all know about my technical issues. I think my camera's dead. Like it's just done. My
What are you
my
using right now?
The webcam on the computer, so it looks terrible.
Yeah,
My the Canon R8 that I use for like all my YouTube videos and webcam and all that, it won't turn on, and I don't know what's happening. So that's
there's a
exciting.
battery that has to go in there too, right?
Yeah, I did. I tried
I
two
know
different
you're a
batteries
doctor,
in
and
the
all,
power
but
supply. Yeah, I know. Tech support's tough for me though. It's all good. Oh, I love it. Dude, we've been doing this for 9 months now.
I know, and it's every first of the month. I'm like, how did it go by that quick? I give it up to anybody who does a podcast a week,
Yeah,
except
thank
you,
you.
because
Of course.
or more than that, like because I have no idea how people do it.
It's
I feel like I'm
tough. It's tough.
struggling to talk about stuff like once a month, um, but
It is, but fortunately we've got some fun stuff to talk about.
yeah, tonight should be fun. Have a few things to talk about. Nothing super
Yeah.
crazy, but yeah, some cool
Yeah.
stuff. Um, if the people backstage when we were backstage heard us, we could go right into that since
Yeah, you just want to dive right into that, and then we can get to some of the
yeah.
more boring stuff later. Yeah.
So me and Patrick have had a bunch of calls with some people and companies and things like that, and um, I think we're going to start working on more species. Um,
Yeah. That's
I
exciting.
don't have the necessarily the time to do any of that, but Patrick luckily doesn't work. He works like 1 day a week from home, and then he's got a couple
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take care of. So
That's
he's
true.
going to handle all of these cool new species we're going to work on, and we're going to do it a really good way. I think the smart way, right, to develop these tests.
I think it's the
The
most future
expensive
proof way to do it as well, right? Like
and
it's gonna
the
go
expensive way, but it's going to be
uh
the best way.
yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely the slightly more expensive way because we're kind of going like top tier for everything, but it allows for flexibility, down the road if we decide we want to do different things with this stuff. We won't have to redo anything most likely. And so a little more money on the front end to potentially make things easier on the back end. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. There's ways to do these things by like fishing for known genes and stuff that we already have, but um, I think this
Yeah.
way it'll be, like you said, future proof and more accurate and more likely to get actual mutations for things. So
Yeah. And a lot more confidence in the initial results, right? So when we're doing genetic testing in general, right? Like we get this list of targets that eventually hopefully become genes that are run for tests, right? The different morphs. But what like we don't really ever talk about is you don't go looking for one gene and you get one thing and then you validate that one thing and it works, right? You get lists of hundreds if not thousands of targets that you have to validate, and some of that comes down to the very first steps that you do in all this process and the quality of the material and the resources that you're using. And so by using better resources,
yeah,
in theory, it's going to limit the amount of targets we have to fish through.
right. So like bioinformatics wise, other things, we're pretty much going to try to do like top tier level
Yeah.
of everything, just like
Yeah.
not leaving anything out there, just literally just starting it off big, spend the money now, whatever, and it's gonna suck, but it won't suck as bad after everything we're working on is done.
That's it. Will just said, "What are the thoughts of Butter and Lester being different and not even?" Charlie, have you confirmed that?
I haven't
Is that an
done
RGI
anything with
thing?
it. That came from Bob Vu, the butter. So somebody sent a shed to test. It was an all-white bell, and they sent it, I believe, I don't know if it was a full panel or a bell panel from RGI, and
Yeah.
came back as I want to say just one copy of lesser or something. I forget what it
Okay.
was. So then they sent it to me, and I tested it, and the same thing. It only came back of all the bell mutations we have. I tested for all of them too, and it only came back for the lesser. Um,
Yeah.
so then I think Ben worked on it a little more and started digging a little deeper, and he found a SNP in, I'm guessing, the same area that is correlating to this mutation that Bob has that is potentially butter, or another line of lesser, whatever. How much it
It-
matters, I don't know. If it looks the
Is this
same,
the first? Is this the first time that a animal like this, where you have like the homozygous form, or even a het form like a butter lesser, quote unquote, proved to not test on on yours or Ben's assay?
on mine, I know it's the first. I'm not sure about Ben's, but I believe it is the
Yeah.
first, and that's what made him start wanting to, look at the data more.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to look at the data. It feels weird to me, and I'm not. This is all, guys. This is 100% speculation. It feels weird that we're ready to say butter and lesser are different genes based on this, just
Yeah,
because
it
like
might
butter
not
and
be
lesser
necessarily
for
butter. I didn't watch the
yeah,
video, but like,
yeah,
does it have to be the butter, or I don't know the lineage or anything like that? So it could be if they look back and say, yeah, butter came from this guy, and we could follow everything to back in his butter, or is it just another
yeah.
lesser? I don't know.
I lean with just feelings, which don't matter. I lean towards it's just another Bell mutation, just because like butter and lesser have been around for close to 2 decades now, right? And they have absolutely been intertwined so much. I think it's almost impossible at this point to actually truly know what is butter and lesser. But that's really actually cool if they are really different.
Well, yeah, it's definitely
It
a
would.
different mutation.
Oh,
Whether
I
it's the
believe it's a different
butter,
mutation. I'm just
right,
talking butter lesser being different.
right.
That is, you're right though. Like, I don't know if it really matters that much because they both still look identical.
It'd be like Ultramel A, Ultramel B, Fire A, Fire B. If they look
Oof.
identical and they do the same thing.
Yeah. Could it be Het Daddy? I don't know, Will. There was so much of that stuff back then that like it's kind of like the hidden gene WOMA, right? Like hidden gene was just something Kevin threw on there because he just couldn't explain it. Daddy was kind of another just like random thing that I don't know. I was never really convinced Daddy was a thing in itself, or like Claddy Daddies, and it's a hot mess. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I
Well,
Yeah,
and
interesting.
we know.
Interesting.
I mean, we know that video. I guess they came out, and like I said, it is definitely two different mutations. They found a second mutation that is, interacts with lesser the same. If we want to name it butter, we can.
Yeah,
That's the
I'm
real
gonna watch.
point.
I'll watch the video tonight, I guess. But I just, once again, just feelings. It feels weird to me that we've been testing for butter and lesser now for how many hundreds of samples, and it hasn't been missing at a significant rate.
The only thing
And
we
with
could say
how
is maybe it missed on something that you couldn't notice lesser in, and somebody,
yeah, maybe.
I don't know, a super
Yeah.
pastel something that maybe it could have got blushed out, and maybe
Yeah, it just feels I don't know, that's an interesting thing to definitively say just because so much of what we do on stuff like butter and lesser, and I keep going butter and lesser as an example because they look identical, and that's kind of like coral glow banana. They look the same. Um and the fact that it's been like 20 years, we I know
right, the
I
interbreeding of
know
it is
yeah,
insane.
I know that people have sold me butters that started out as lessers because I know the person they bought their original animal from, and they just
Right.
liked the name butter better than lesser. Um, yeah, I'm not getting into that one, Will. Um, and so, in the grand scheme, it doesn't really matter. Like whatever. But I, it would surprise me if they are different, just because it's been 15, 20 years and so much intermingling. I don't even know if we can really differentiate the two at this point.
Right. Yeah. It'd be tough. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you know, Paul, I'm not gonna. I don't know
I
if it's
think I
necessarily.
know we can take their word on it that there's two different things. Sure, 100%.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree
I know
with
I
that.
tested it.
Yeah,
They tested it. Whether or not we
yeah,
want to call it butter or not, that's up to the community.
yeah. I agree. I agree that, like Charlie just said, there's no question there's another Bell mutation. I have no arguments there. Mine is more like it's interesting to definitively say butter lesser, um, just because of the time period it's been. You know, I think that's also kind of some of the issues you probably run into in like the 8-ball complex with, you know, people, animals started out as black pastels and then they became cinnamons or vice versa, and it's tough to really get good pools of comparisons to definitively make some of these statements with genes that look virtually identical that have been around for a really, really, really long time. But either way, it's cool that they found a new Bell mutation. That's a win.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm sure
So
there's going to be more and
that's
more of that going on throughout the years. You know,
absolutely.
there's always something that's going to pop up that's not going to make sense.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
especially
Interesting.
mutations and how quickly more and more mutations are, I feel like, coming out. It's like at a rapid pace.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess genetic testing helps figure that stuff out too. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, we're also in a little bit of an awkward. I have two normals that look the same. Perfect. Jeremy, let's test them and see what's different. Uh I you know, we're in a slightly awkward spot too, right? Because as we've talked about before, normally you would find a mutation and then you would induce that mutation in another, you know, in a wild type animal to prove what that mutation does. And we've only done that with one more morph so far in Pied. And so it's also hard sometimes to really definitively be like,
maybe
yeah,
we make shed testing CRISPR
I'm in. Yeah,
ring.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. Yeah, that
I mean,
sounds
you're
like
a
fun.
doctor. You could do that. Like,
I've done CRISPR. I have a mouse. I have multiple mouse models that we've designed using CRISPR Cas9 technology. So yeah, I'm in. It's good stuff. It's really cool. It works
just
really, really, really well.
Can you just grab some DNA from Jeremy's snakes and just make me something really cool?
Yeah, you know what? When I'm at Daytona, I'll kidnap a couple of his snakes, get their DNA, and go all Jurassic Park on it. It'll be good.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So yeah, that's one thing we're going to be working on, some cool stuff like that. Back end wise, I just paid my my web guy to start, just to make things a little easier for everybody, because it does get super confusing here when sheds just show up and people label things differently than other people, or people have long ID numbers, and it's just, it gets confusing. I literally, as we were backstage, was texting with somebody that he's sending something for me to retest because he had very confusing ID. And like, even after we gave the results and everything, I'm like, resend some of that stuff because I'm confused. I want to make sure everything's right. And there's one snake that looks a little off than what the result says. So I'm like, listen, send me that back, because long story short, I want to get rid of that. So I want everything to be streamlined.
Yeah.
Same, you know, it's going to be a lot easier for people to place orders and for results to get back. And especially the big orders, like when people are typing stuff in, because, you know, all the time I'll see mismatched things, like something will come and it'll be like 24-5-2 test for DG on the website. Then I get it and it's female 1 stranger. And it's like, did you mean this? You know? So I just want everything to be super, like, that's one stressful thing that I want gone. So that I feel like that could be an easy fix. I'm paying the guy, and he's gonna just. I told him how I want everything, and he's just gonna completely get everything automated and just make everything really, really easy for everybody.
On the website, this is something I just thought about, and I'd like to just throw it out there. Do users create it like they create their own individual accounts, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's a way to do a feature just to make your life more stressful, to where if they have a sample that like the result seems off to them, they can
Yeah.
like flag it and then upload a picture to
Right.
that sample. So you have a picture of that animal to look at
Yeah.
as well for reference for like troubleshooting and stuff.
Yeah, that could make my life easier actually because I do that for everybody because I talk to
Right.
as
Or I
many
know that's
customers.
what I'm saying. Like I know people
Anybody
send
who
you
reaches
pictures
out
of
to
it.
me that's a customer, I have a pretty much a good relationship with that. If something they think isn't right, they'll get a hold
Yeah.
of me ASAP,
Yeah.
and
So that might be a cool feature. See if he can do just
yeah,
randomly. I'll just throw that into the ether so that now you're held to it by everybody.
just keep
You're
taking
welcome.
money out of my pocket to pay for stuff.
Sorry,
You've been
bud.
good at that the last. You've been good at that the last few weeks.
I am so good at. I have been, but I like to believe that everything I've recommended has really been for the better. So
Yeah, hopefully,
we're gonna know. We're gonna
or
know
it just
one way or
makes me
another.
even more stressed out. But yeah, so
Ah,
then on to new tests. Last week we got data back for Mandarin, Red Stripe, Tri-Stripe, and MJ Xanthic. So
yeah.
those are being analyzed right now by some supercomputers, and then I will have that data in my hands. So I think I'm going to get Red Stripe first because that was the first to be uploaded. So probably Red Stripe by the end of the week, maybe even another one, and then hopefully data's good and we start validating. I feel like I haven't validated anything really since like Lace, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean it's a drag, right?
Uh,
TSK Xanthic is coming soon.
yeah, so I literally we have the test for it. I just haven't
Okay.
validated it yet on my end. I
Okay.
was I telling you this morning? Like I literally texted my employee. I was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we're like nice and caught up. I did a ton this weekend. She's back. She was on vacation and she got tons done yesterday. And we were like, I'm like, hey, listen, as long as we don't get smoked today with sheds, can you please run a bunch of TSK known visual hets and
Yeah.
negatives so we could just get this done? And then she sent me a picture of what was in the PO box, and I said, all right, forget what I just said. So that's the problem. It's time. Time is the one thing that I don't have, and hopefully someday I could either get 10 more employees or train my 4-year-old son how to do this stuff or something. But,
Yeah, those are all great options. This is
yeah.
why we have so many students in our labs, so we can make them do this stuff.
I know. I really see
Yeah.
like we have some really good universities around here in the Albany area, like
Yeah.
what's the RPI? They like. I just wonder
SUNY?
if I no,
It's
it's
like no, SUNY, Stony Brook. We all have. I mean,
Rensselaer
you have some.
Polytechnic. Yeah, we have SUNY, the Albany's here, but like we
Yeah.
have RPI, which is like a big school, like and Regeneron is right here. So
Okay.
there's tons of Regeneron offices here. So they work with RPI a lot, and they. I just don't. I don't know if I mean I have an LLC and everything, but I don't know if I'm legit enough to be able to say yeah, work for me, and I could give you credit or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. That's an interesting question.
And I don't know
I mean,
if I have the time to figure that out. So
yeah, I was gonna say right now you probably don't.
no.
If it ain't Bang, Rainbow, Stranger,
Oh,
Splatter, I don't need it right now.
Will, hold on. Will, I got rainbow info for you. We were talking about it today. Hold on.
Rainbow is one of those genes. I feel like 14 people actually like have it in their collection, but they are the loudest 14 motherfuckers the world has ever known.
All right, so I'm gonna say this.
Stony Brook is in Long Island. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this.
Sorry, Paul.
Without saying too much, but we have the gene that rainbow is on. We just got to find the SNP on said gene. So that's next. And luckily Heather is on it, and she's a snip finding whiz.
Yeah, she's a monster.
Yeah, so that should. I'm guessing Rainbow will be sooner rather than later. Will.
It's gonna make all 14 people and Will happy, so that's good.
Right.
Yeah, guys, send your hate to Aura Reptiles
Yes,
when
please.
it comes to Patrick bashing your projects. Okay,
Yes.
I take full responsibility. Rainbow's cool. I just don't feel like a lot of people work it, but it's a cool gene.
No, I think it's like one of the better. Is Rainbow technically a T negative? Yeah, right. That's not a. Or is it a T positive?
What is a
'Cause it's
banana?
not as
I mean,
dark as, like
it's
other
like a
ones.
banana.
Yeah.
It's like a
really
banana. I don't know.
Coral glow that doesn't get spots.
It's exhausting. Ball pythons are dumb. This is why
Yeah.
I'm letting Charlie do all the ball python stuff, and I'm going to do the other species. It's way more
Yeah.
fun.
No, yeah, and like every day, like something else. I could be going from having an amazing day to having the worst day in a matter of a single text message or phone call. And ball python breeders, kudos to you guys. You give it your all.
Oh my god, it's recessive banana. Yeah, see, Rainbow is banana the hard way.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Will, I did not say any of that. Will, I think it's an amazing mutation. And if you want to,
No, Patrick said it. It's okay. Look, I think it's a cool looking mutation. I just am not going to work it personally until like I have to, and at this point, I don't have to. So, but yeah, it's cool. There's no. I mean, I joke, guys. I don't hate everything.
And then yeah, I'm sure like Mandarin and Red Stripe going to be built to validate.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. But
yeah, no,
that
the red stripe is going to be really helpful. Mandarin is going to be interesting because I feel like
it might be one that I never release because I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of the headache of like Mandarin. You're really going to have to be really, really, really sure on the super Mandarins you have.
That's the problem. It's going to take me longer to find it unless it's like a glaring gene that's awesome or we get lucky, because I have to trust that all the supers that I sequenced are actually supers. And then it's going to be the same thing. I have a lot of Mandarin stuff here for people, some good big breeders that, I'll reach out to before any validation. I'm going to pull out the sheds that I'm running that day and say, can you send me pictures of these? And then I'll do it.
I want to see some Aurora. Oh, hold on. I need to go look at a picture of the Rio shit again. One moment. Is that how you spell it? Okay. I don't remember ever drawing this connection between the two, but people seem to be lately. I don't see it. I don't know. Maybe it is, and I'm just crazy. I don't think Rio, and then I don't think, or is it Aurora? Whichever, God,
Arroyo.
Whichever one's the Arroyo.
Arroyo is the het, I believe, and Rio is the homozygous.
They just don't look. Yeah, so the Rio is the homozygous. It doesn't look super red striped to me. It looks way crazier, but like not all. Okay, well.
It's just
this is
people think
like,
too much into this stuff. I think just work whatever you want to work. How about that? If you want to work like instead of red stripe, go for it.
Do it now. Yeah. But you know what's funny? Like, I think this is actually like a great use case of like, this is why some of this stuff is really hard and why Charlie put so much effort into the validation process to make sure that like the test that's being put out is hitting for a specific phenotype, right? So even like you're trying to just make sure you're very, very confident in what this test is actually hitting. So,
I mean,
yeah.
And
so
like I have 4 pinstripes that are possible Mandarin, possible super Mandarin. Some of them have Enchi in them. Some of them have Pied. Some of them have Hypo. I have no freaking clue if any of them are Mandarin. None of them could be. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to use that test for me. And sorry, guys.
I love it. I think yeah, Mandarin's been a tricky one. I mean, even up until a couple of years ago, right? Like people weren't really sure what like Super Mandarin Hypo versus Super Mandarin, and like there's a lot of layers to it. So, if you're able to find a target that hits really like is just on point, like that actually will be really useful for that gene in the same way it has, been
Oh,
for the most
100%. It's
part
going to be
for
the same thing.
lace, right?
It's going to disappoint
Yeah.
a lot of people,
Yeah.
but it's going to clear everything up. Like you could already
Yeah.
see it. I look at lace on Morph Market all the time. I've noticed people change stuff, even people that have never tested
Yeah.
it. I've noticed people change to possibly, or a
Yeah.
lot of people have, and I think that's good. If you're not sure, and if you don't want to test it,
Yeah.
say it's possible, lace.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I think too, like being, we've talked about it before, but being straightforward with your customers on stuff. And it's like, if you're not 100% sure on a gene, and I understand like not wanting to guarantee it, at least be like real with your customer when like if they reach out to you about it, or like when you're selling it and it's an expensive animal, be like, hey, I'm not 100% sure on this gene. So like if that's why you want this, like just be forewarned, like I'm not going to guarantee this, like I think stuff like that is really, it's a good direction to go. I had to do that on an animal recently where, the person reaches out and he's like, hey, are you sure this is spot nose? I'm like, I did up until you asked, and now I'm questioning it. Like, that's not what makes this snake expensive. So, like, buy at your own risk, But,
Right.
like, but if you're wanting this specifically because it has spot nose in it, don't buy this animal because I'm not going to guarantee that, you know? I think that's a good way to go. And the guy didn't buy the snake, and that's okay. Like, there was no
Because you
no
don't
ill
want to
will
look
for
at later.
me.
When then he sends the shed in and it's negative, and now he's like, "Oh, I bought this from you,"
Right, exactly.
and he has
And
every
the
right to
person
be
that
upset about it. But you also have
absolutely,
every right to be like, "Dude, listen, we talked
yeah.
about that."
I've really started, so I fill in comments on animals when I list them now, like just if like you have an animal that like he eats every other week, right? I sold a male like that he eats every other week, and he breeds regularly, but he's not a thick boy, and he's never going to gain weight. And it's like I put all that in the comments, right? And then he goes up on auction and he sells, and I tell the person like, hey, did you read the comments about him? No. What do I need to know? And then you let the person know, right? Like, and I think I've really started doing that more and more, and I do that with genes now. And if I'm not 100% sure, like, we either need to put PASA in there, which, like you said, people are starting to do, or just let people know. Like, I think it just solves a lot of issues down the road. Um. So yeah. Anyway, that's my daily rant for the moment.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a busy next few weeks, and I think there's just going to be a ton of validation runs going on, which is good. It's
Yeah.
annoying. It's not fun, but a lot of Sanger sequencing, and I hate having to do that, but you know, it's the best way for validation, especially the first bunch. Like if I say red stripe, for example, I'll Sanger like 20, 30 of them. And if the test looks good at that point, then I'll design it for the, the real time and everything. And then I can
Yeah.
validate a crap ton. But,
Yep.
I'm going to first Sanger as much as I can in the beginning just to make sure.
You can see it.
And then
Yeah.
we could see if there's anything else near there or anything. So,
Yep.
but yeah. But
I think it's
yeah,
good.
so
I think it's good.
It'll definitely be busy.
Dude,
I'll be
this
on
this month.
vacation next Wednesday to Sunday. But
Ah.
we'll be open for business. My employee will be here every day.
Okay.
And I'm sure
All right.
I'll be making my wife mad because I'll be on my phone and on a computer all night. Thanks, Will. But yeah, so like for example, like Will just reminded me that like Orange Dream, I have a very good Orange Dream test. The only things I've ever had it not necessarily not called correctly, but have been like, let me check this out, are people that have had stuff that they say are like super Orange Dream, or I think this is, I really think this is OD, but it's in a big combo, and my, and it, we're not 100% sure, and it's kind of like a lace ordeal. So I'm not releasing the Orange Dream test until I have the time to dedicate into the same validation that I did for Lace as I could do for that.
Yeah.
So that's just how I'm going to work everything from now on. It used to be like, oh, if we get 100 out of 100, it's good to go. But now I don't care. Like, especially with the codoms, that's all right for, I guess, for things that we know, like Tri-Stripe. I'm going to get known 100% hets. I'm going to get known 100% guaranteed homozygous animals to validate. That's easier to validate. So then if I do 100 for 100 on that, I think we're good. But if we go, it's going to be a lot harder to initially hit that 100 for 100 on something, unless I'm doing it like I did with Lace, where I had to say, send me pictures, what was the pairing? Is there any way that this could not be Lace, and then test it? Because that was the most frustrating thing, is running tests and then going back and looking at the animals and being like, oh God, no, I stressed out over nothing. There's no way this is Lace,
Jeremy, I don't think it's entirely just a recessive trait. Because it generally, when I see shark mouth, I see other deformities tied to it, which generally makes me think some kind of incubation, not necessarily even some kind of developmental issue that could come from temperature spikes or cold or whatever. But yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, I would think if it was a real, like, true recessive trait, we'd see it a lot more than we actually do in some of our pairings. There's absolutely
that would be is raise two up, breed them together,
right, breed them together and see what happens.
Shark mouth, and there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, you could, no. So you could do it that way, but I think it's generally, like, when I have it pop up in my stuff, there's generally other issues that also are there besides just the shark mouth. But it's possible. I mean, definitely can get some weird developmental stuff when you get some weird recessive genes flying in there. And there's so much inbreeding with ball pythons that it just it wouldn't surprise me. So that's possible though. Yeah, so the new genes, hopefully sooner rather than later, hopefully by next month, we'll have an update.
That's what people will ask me, like, hey, how long until Mandarin's out? Like, okay, well, I got data back yesterday. It could either be a week or it could be two years. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know until we really dig into it and start looking at stuff.
Yeah. The validation process, it's one thing to have a target, it's another to validate the target. And once you get down the validation process, you could get hundreds of samples in and then find out that you're still you just have a very, 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 very highly correlated biomarker. This het puzzle rainbow has some crazy order. So anything could be hidden. Yeah, for sure. Sterling's got all kinds of stuff floating through his collection. Yeah, Bang, Mandarin, Ultra Hypo Hoopla. It's good stuff. All right. So hopefully, probably, if I were to guess, won't have validated tests for all the genes you talked about today by next month. But I think what we'll be updating y'all with is targets that are being validated, and hopefully within a couple of months tests. But like Charlie said, that could be 2 months. It could be 2 years. Or we could get super
lucky. I'm guessing like the recessives, like MJ and Tri-Stripe, are probably going to wind up first, because those are going to be in genes that are going to stand out a lot more to us rather than the other ones. But we could get lucky. We get lucky, and especially if all the red stripes and mandarins I sequenced were actual supers, then we'll be really lucky. And I'm sure we'll get really lucky. I'm not banking on that, but like, for instance, Lace was the first mutation I looked at. First gene we looked at was that one, and I was like, all right, this is great. It still took forever because we had to validate it.
Yeah.
But if we get lucky like that on one of these, then it could be quicker than we think.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. If nothing is available, then we'll be, at least able to update people, whatever. And if something does come available, and before, we could always do a pop up or anything and talk about it. Guys, next month is going to be an exciting episode. There's going to be a lot to talk about. There's going to be some really cool developments.
hopefully some tests, and then we'll talk more about, the special projects that I'm going to be helping a little bit more with, and
Yeah,
just
I mean, by then
just
we should
just
get some. We should at least be plugging along a little bit.
yeah. Uh, and just for peace of mind for some people, because I know there are somewhere, I'm not doing anything with the ball python stuff. You're saying I know nothing of what goes on the ball python side when it comes to sample submission and being run and all of that stuff. That is very
He is
Charlie
not
does a good
privy
job
to
of.
any of that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know
trust him one
nothing.
bit. I
No,
mean, there's
I give opinions on certain things, but when it comes to like what customers send in, I know nothing. So don't. I've heard rumblings occasionally of people being like, "Oh, I don't love that Patrick is a ball python breeder and he's doing the genetic testing." Like, I give
he
my
doesn't do
thoughts as a
genetic testing on ball
scientist.
python.
Yeah, I don't do it, unfortunately. And that is what it is. So,
Fortunately, because it's
well,
stressful.
I
Um,
it is what it is. So Patrick is going to speed run. No, I'm not speed running Jaguar.
is Jaguar?
So,
Is there a homozygous, a super form of Jaguar or no?
yeah, there is a super, but I don't know who actually has it, whether it's Justin or Mark. They
So
both look
again, one
different to
of the
me.
things I guess we could talk a little bit about more is like I've been looking into more, and Patrick's been helping like bioinformatics. That is kind of his thing. So I'm looking
A
at
little
different
bit.
companies and different softwares and licenses I could get for certain things, and to maybe help develop tests for other things that are hard to figure out.
Yeah, yeah,
So let's see. Um, I'm willing to just. I'm at the point where I'm just like, all right, let's just just get everything we need.
let's just
I want it to.
yeah,
I
let's
want
just
it
be
to
better.
it's
Yeah,
just like just let's do it. Not cheaping out on anything and just trying to do
I
it.
think we're I think we're moving from this as a hobby company for Charlie to this is now becoming a real company, right? There's real infrastructure being built, and
And
not
that's
not that
definitely
you weren't
my
a real
goal. A
company
lot of
from before, you remember, but like you were a
mhm.
company before, but like I think it was more hobby driven, and now it's growing out of necessity, but it's growing. So
Yeah, yeah, and then a lot of the stuff that I know that I've done wrong is organization, and almost it's my fault for not forcing people to do things a certain way. I felt like I had
yeah,
to just allow people to do and send and do whatever they wanted, and that's when things got confusing. Um, it's just not fair for everybody. Not never mind me, whatever. I could deal with it, but it's like I don't like having to be like, dude, I don't know what you sent. Like, could we figure this out? Or I don't know
yeah,
what the order
it
was.
adds a
Or like,
lot of it just adds extra layers to make sure you're staying on top of stuff, and
yeah,
like you do, and you've done a great job of that so far, but it's trying to remove as much of the human element as possible, because
right,
in general humans are the ones that make the most mistakes, and so the more optimization you can do, the more automation you can do, the less human interaction, the better, and that's
yeah, and that's
you
what
know
I'm going. That's the game plan is to do that.
yeah,
Is make
yeah,
all like ordering everything smooth. Just have different features, different options. Just and also just if people don't want to do certain things and they just want to do it the simple old fashioned way, they could do it the simple old fashioned way. But if somebody's putting in a lot of sheds and a lot of tests, and I want
yeah,
there to be better ways to do it than how it's being done now.
yeah, for
I don't
sure.
like especially with the amount of customers, and I feel horrible because I can't remember everybody I talked to. I can't remember what we talked about yesterday, and you're like, "Hey, did you test that one yet for me?" I don't know which one. You know,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
step you're talking about. I don't know. Or like, hey, did you pull that shed that I asked you about 3 weeks ago, and you said you'd rerun it or test it for this now? Yeah, no, I don't remember. But can you tell
I
me
think that's
exactly
a
what?
testament. I think it's a testament to the customer service, though. You do a good job of making every person feel like they're the only customer, and
I don't know.
we all need to do a better job of realizing like we're not the only customer. And so that's one thing the new system is going to do. It's going to make it way more efficient on your side of like taking care of that stuff. So
Right.
it's going to be
Yeah.
good, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, the August episode, there's going to be a lot to talk about, and it's going to be a lot of really exciting stuff that's going to be just better for, us,
Right.
for shedtesting.com, and for the industry as a whole. And so I think that's just going to be a win all around. So,
Yeah. Like when I get a text at like 11 o'clock at night, like, hey, can you pull this shed for me to test? I know I have to get up and come up to the lab and do it.
Yeah.
There's no
happen.
There's no alarm that will force me to do it. This
Yeah.
thing does nothing to help me. I see them and I can't so I literally, unless I get up and people are like, no, don't worry about it till tomorrow. I'm like, no, you don't.
I got to do it now.
So hopefully I'm working on a lot of cool stuff that will eliminate that. So, but yeah,
I love
Chris is up next. So I appreciate it.
I was gonna say, make sure Chris is on in 15 minutes. The guests are
Portuguese Pythons. So they had an awesome show out in Cali this weekend.
Oh, that's exciting. Awesome. Congrats, guys. Yeah, that's awesome. I think Zach Parpart and Donato are the guests tonight, so it's gonna be an exciting show for sure. Charlie, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Info@aura.com. What is it?
or reptiles.com. So close.
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook, shedtesting.com, email charlie@shedtesting.com. Yeah.
I love it. Guys, I'm Aura Reptiles on all platforms. Please go give, like, subscribe, and we will see y'all August 1st for another exciting episode of A Really Smart Guy and Me. Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Later.